Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to go ahead and create a rocket. So from the beginning, we're going to create a new document. Perhaps you've got a document shared already, but we're going to go ahead and create one. We're going to call it a rocket. And this rocket is going to be a 3D object. And we're going to design all the parts in context here and now. So we're going to go ahead and start with a simple rocket tube body. We'll create a sketch. On our top plane, looking down at the top plane, the letter N on the keyboard will get you to normal. If you accidentally click the wrong plane, you can just click the little X here, and that'll let you pick that again. We're going to go ahead again, viewing down normal on that. We're going to draw a circle with the letter C on the keyboard is the shortcut key. You can go up to the drop-down menus if you choose, but I like the shortcut keys because I think they're faster. We're going to click on the origin, move our mouse out some distance. You will measure the rocket tube body with your calipers or whatever measuring tools you have. You take the dimension tool, the letter D on the keyboard is the shortcut. You can also go up to the drop-down menu. To dimension the diameter of a circle, all you need to do is click on the edge of the circle, move the mouse away from it, and then click and release, and then type in the value that you're looking for. For the purpose here, we're going to call this a 1-inch diameter circle. You can see that my planes are not really needed right now, so I'm going to toggle those off. I can fill my screen by tapping the letter F on the keyboard, and I can zoom out a little bit with the letter Z. I'm going to draw another dimension using the letter D on the keyboard to click on the edge of the circle, and we'll identify the distance there. So we'll say 0.95. Now I could alternatively click both circles and got the distance between them. Of course, I can't do that anymore because I now have two dimensions. You see everything is turned black. It's important to recognize that when your sketch, pause for the commercial interrupted, a word from our sponsor. All right. So whenever our sketch turns black, it is fully constrained, fully defined, and no more measurements can be applied to change the model. If I want to change the model at this point, just double click on a value and change that value. And change that back. All right, so there you have it. The next thing to do is going to be to name our sketch. We'll rocket 2 and save it and exit. You can see that your sketch is documented here in the features browser on the left-hand side. And if I click the bottom right corner of my view cube, you can see that I'm brought back to the isometric view, showing top, front, and right. At this point, I want to extrude my rocket tube. Shift E is the shortcut for extrude. You can also get that from the menu up top. And we're going to go ahead and name this rocket tube. This is going to create a solid new part. I need to identify the face region to extrude. I want to extrude that outer shell, and we'll give it a height of, say, 12 inches. Enter key, and then top right corner here. If I want to extrude in the opposite direction, just flip the arrow. If I want to be symmetric about the axes, I can do that. If I want to have it at a second endpoint or anything else to that point, there are other options. If I select that, I can do a second end position. So if I wanted to extrude in 2 directions. I don't want to do that, so we're just going to stick back to 12 inches and save that, and now we have a part. You see a new part pops up down here. I can right click on here to rename it, and a rocket tube. And I can also add properties. For example, right click, change the properties. I can assign materials. Let's call it HDF. HDF is high density fiberboard. That's the closest thing you're probably going to get to a cardboard model tube. Okay, and that'll now tells us what the mass of the object would be. So now I have a mass I can know that this thing is 29 thousandths of a pound. I can adjust my appearance as well. So pick a new color for my rocket tube. There we go. First rocket I ever painted in my life was purple, so we'll go with purple here today. I think I was in second grade. We're going to go ahead and turn our sketch planes back on, and we're going to create a fin. Let's go ahead and draw a fin by creating a new sketch. Shift S is the shortcut, and click the front button. And for normal, look down at it, and let's draw a rocket fin. We're going to use the line tool. And you know what? There's an edge here. So let's see if I take the Use. There we go. Use, or U on the keyboard, is a tool that will let you use existing geometry. So I'm going to click on that. And so now if I were to hide my rocket tube, you can see that there is now geometry there that I can build from. So let's go ahead and draw that fin. L is the shortcut for line. And I'm going to design my fins. Don't need to design anything fancy. That'll do. And I know that my fins are complete whenever they have turned gray on the inside. The gray on the inside tells me I have a closed profile. Of course, it doesn't do us any good if we don't dimension them. So let's dimension this. And let's go with 9. I'm going to move this up to horizontal. We'll put the horizontal constraint between here and here. And then we need a height for our rocket fins. Oops. So dimension again is D. We're going to go from the origin to here. 3. And then if you have a part that is not turned black yet, all you have to do to figure out what constraints are missing is just to grab on it and give it a tug. I need a dimension here for the length of this line, as I can see, to tell me to turn that black. So we're going to go with 0.75. There's my good looking fin. I like that. So we'll go ahead and call that fin. And green check. We're going to go ahead and extrude that. This is a situation where we're going to want to extrude that in 2 directions. So we're on the central axis. We wanted to go in both directions equally. So when we do our extrude, again, Shift D is the shortcut. This is going to be a symmetric extrusion. And that symmetric extrusion will go in both directions. So we'll click on that. I don't want to go a full inch. That's awfully big. And it is going to be a new part. So don't worry about the turn red. So we'll call it fin. And whatever your depth is, you'll have to measure the material you plan on using. But about 1/10 of an inch is pretty standard. There's my fin. There we have at it. Let's go ahead and add a nose cone. So we'll toggle our planes back on. We'll look normal to the front plane. Now let's create a new sketch. So Shift S is the shortcut for sketch. Again, you can find this from the menu up top. Click on the front plane. And we're going to zoom in on the top of this nut rocket again. I'm going to go ahead and back to our good friend Use U. And we're going to grab that information. Matter of fact, while we're at it, we actually really want that inside thing. So let's go ahead and do a section view. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my section view. And I'm going to click the front plane as my section. We'll save that. So now when I look at this, I'm looking at my rocket as it's cut away. That'll allow me to use the inside as well. So now I have the outside, the inside, part 2. Ooh, we forgot to name that. So we'll get to that later. Come back to that later. So this new sketch is going to be our nose cone. Or not, nose cone. I'm going to save that for later. I forgot to do this. Let's go right click and rename that fins. And let's add a material to that. Assign material and balsa. Balsa is a common material. And again, you can check your fin mass, just clicking the mass properties, Click on your fin, you can see that your weight is 3,000 some pounds. All right, let's go back into our nose cone sketch. So double click on nose cone, go back in our sketch. We've used, you can see the use icon pops up here, this line and this line. And now we're going to, while we're at it, let's use this top line. We need this is going to be a revolve feature. It's going to go around, it's going to be circular. So let's go ahead and take the line tool and we're going to create a center line. So we will line that up with the origin. So we have a vertical axis. We'll go above there. We see the yellow pre-select tells me that I am aligned with the origin, and you can see the vertical symbol popping up. So if I click now, I got a vertical line aligned with the origin. The only thing that's blue right now is the ends of the line. The line can't move left to right, and it can't be sloped. So let's go ahead and let's draw the inside of the nose here. Use the line tool again. Just go straight across to that portion, and then let's go ahead. Now we have our, let's go ahead and hide our rocket tube again. You can see there's a section there. Now we just need an arc to go from here to the outside, and we'll use a tangent arc. So tangent arc is going to allow us to go tangent to that line and up to the top. Now it's just a matter of dimensioning our object. We can dimension our arc. Let's say give it a 5-inch radius, 6-inch radius is what I gave it, sorry. And then we need a height. Well, we need to dimension the height from here to here, say 3 inches. And then we have a height from here to here. Let's go with 3/4 inch. And there's your nose cone. Let's go ahead and revolve that nose cone now. So we're going to save the nose cone, and we're going to revolve. You see we have a gray section, and we're going to hit the revolve tool. We're going to click both sections. We're going to ask the revolve axis. You can see that produces a full round object. So we'll call that nose cone. As again, a new solid, full rotation. Of course, I said full, and it doesn't look full because remember, we turned on our section view. So we turn our section view off, and there's our nose cone. All right. This nose cone will be difficult to get into the paper rocket tube because trying to shove that inside the tube would be difficult with the sharp edges. So to make that a little easier, we're going to put a chamfer on the bottom of this tube. Putting a chamfer on there will allow you to wedge it in there a lot easier. So let's go ahead and let's hide that rocket tube again. We got our chamfer tool. And we go ahead, equal distance, 2 distances, or no, we're going to do equal distance, get a 45 degree, and about 1/4 inch, 2/10. That's fine. We just click the bottom of the tube. It goes all the way around. That looks good. And now you can see we've got our rocket. Turn that back on. Looking pretty darn good. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and create the launch lug. The launch lug is important. That's the thing that holds your rocket onto the launch lug is the thing that holds your rocket onto the launch pad. And without your launch lug, you can't. Without your launch lug, you can't fly a rocket. So, in the background, you can see here, adding some materials. We're going to assign material to the rocket. Nose cone is PLA, which is a plastic that we can 3D print. That's what we use on our 3D printers. Okay, so now I have a rocket. Let's go ahead and add that launch lug. That's going to be up here. It's not going to be all the way down here at the bottom. It's going to be about halfway up the rocket. So we're going to need a new plane to do that. There's nowhere to connect that to. So we're going to come up to our tool ribbon. We're going to choose plane. And we're going to offset from the top plane. We can pull that up a distance. And we can tweak that distance later. But for the moment, I'm just going to go with 6 inches. Okay, and we'll call that launch lug plane. And then we're going to go ahead and create a new sketch. Shift S is the shortcut again. We'll look N for normal. And let's go ahead and draw that circle on that plane. Again, we're going to want to do some using. So we use that circle. And we can hide our fins and our rocket tube now. We'll draw a new circle that is going to be horizontally aligned, or in this case vertically aligned, with the axis, the origin, and the, looks like we have the vertical, actually got my world twisted a little bit. There we go. Let's go ahead and do that. So vertically aligned with there. The inside of that tube is going to be at least an 1/8 inch, but not a whole lot bigger. And then the outside of that tube is going to be slightly larger than that, whatever the thickness you have, so you can measure that for yourself. Last time we measured diameter and diameter. Let's go ahead and measure the distance between them this time. So click on this one, and you can see we got a distance between, and we'll go with 5 thousandths, 0.005. Because the plastic straws aren't very thick. It's about the thickness of a sheet of paper. Now, right now, everything is still blue, even though I put diameters on it, and even though I aligned it with the origin, and slide it up and down. So what we want now is we want the outside of this circle to be tangent to the outside of the rocket. I'm going to go up to my drop-down menu or tip the T on the ribbon and choose tangent. And I want this circle tangent to this circle. You can see everything's fully constrained. This is our launch lug. And green check. And we're going to extrude that. So I have the extrude button again, and zoom in and extrude that area. Now we could have just chose launch lug sketch, but that's going to cause a problem for us because we don't want the entirety of the launch lug sketch. We just want this area. Okay, I'm going to go symmetric and 1 inch. Let's go with the 2-inch launch lug. You'll need to measure your own. Again, this is a solid, is a new part. And we're going to right click and rename that. These are typically made out of high density polyethylene, HDPE. That's the stuff that milk jugs are made of. So it's a silent material, and type in HDPE. And there's your launch lug. We got our nose cone, our fins, and our rocket tube. All right. Looking pretty darn good. Looking pretty spiffy. We've got just about everything. Let's go ahead and add the rest of your fins. So we want 3 fins. So we're going to circular pattern. We're going to make a part pattern of the fins. Entities to pattern, we're going to choose the fin. The axis of the pattern will be the tube. The number of those will be 3. And there are your fins. Looking pretty good. Pretty excited. Almost have a rocket. All right. Let's go ahead and create that engine mount. Engine mount is going to be coming here. So we're going to create a new sketch. Shift S. I'm going to go back onto that same plane we started with. We'll view normal and down. And again, we're going to use our rocket tube, original circles. The rocket tube is going to be, engine mount's going to sit inside. So let me go ahead and hide these things now. Forgot to name my last few parts, so we'll get back to that in a minute. Okay. Oh, those are the fins we didn't create. All right. So there's the, I think this is going to be 2 more circles. So circle, C, 1 and 2. So one of these is going to be the diameter of the rocket engine. So just slightly larger than the rocket engine. So we'll go with 0.75. And then the other one will be just slightly bigger than that again, to the thickness, which I would dimension the distance, the thickness of the rocket, of the engine mount tube, probably about 1/100 of an inch. Okay. And so now we're going to be able to extrude. So let's go ahead and extrude the inner 2 skinniest rings. Go ahead and do that up. Distance of about 3 inches. You'll need to measure yours. And that produces the engine mount, which we'll need to name this again. This is rename, fin, oops, rename, and don't forget to assign materials. So that's properties, or edit material. Also, okay, good. It copied that. Good. And also that kept it sweet. So that kept our, and our engine mount is also going to be HDF, high density fiberboard. Okay. We turn our stuff on. And you can see our rockets coming together pretty darn good. So we have our rocket tube, engine mount, fins, nose cone, launch lug, and you know what, I'm going to stop here for now. All right, the next thing we need to make is our spacers. So our engine mount here can't actually exist this way because it's hanging out in space. There's nothing connecting it to our rocket. So let's go ahead and make that engine mount fit properly, and we're going to need to make some spacers. Now we had already drawn those in our last operation, but our sketch turned off. So we're going to turn our sketch back on, and then we're going to extrude our spacer, flip the direction. It's going to be a new part. We'll go 1/10 of an inch. There's a new part. It's a new spacer. You can see that that appears here. It's the orange component. Let's rename that. And we're going to assign a material. Again, use HDF. So there's our spacer. We can hide our rocket tube so you can see the spacer in its position. But we want that spacer to be approximately here and approximately here. So we're going to actually translate that and duplicate it. First, let's go ahead and translate it. So there is a transform button up here. I'm going to grab that part and translate by line. So line or points, we'll just click a line right there. And no, not by line, translate by XYZ. That's what I want. My fault, sorry. You just drag it along some distance, and you can say we're going to go up a ½ inch. And there's your first spacer, been transformed, and then we're going to pattern to get a second one. So we used the circular pattern last time. So where the heck is my circular pattern? Okay, linear pattern. So we want to duplicate, we want the same entity. So with that spacer, we're going to pick a direction. I'm going to flip the direction. Distance of 2 inches. There you go. And insert spacer. So now I have spacers. Rename. And look at that. So I got my rocket motor, got my fins. We've got the spacers. We turn on our rocket tube. That is really looking like a real rocket. How about that? All right. Last thing to do is to make the little clip for the engine holder. So the engine mount is the paper tube or HDF tube, but then there is a metal retainer that holds that in place. So we're going to go ahead and hold that rocket and create that. And let's create that on the front plane. So we're going to create a sketch again on the front plane. Turn our planes back on, choose the front plane, and we're going to go ahead and turn our section view back on because we're going to draw that. We're going to draw that retainer clip right now. So we're going to create a metal clip. We're going to do some draw a line. That line needs to come down here. It goes just past the end of the rocket tube. And then it comes over some distance and back. All right. And we're going to fill it because you can't bend a piece of metal with a perfectly sharp bend. So we need to get a fillet. Let's go with a distance about 0.02 works for me. We'll use the same fillet size down here. And here. So we have that fillet. Excellent. And then we're going to offset that. So we'll find the offset tool, circular pattern, transform, offset. There it is. Offset has a shortcut key of O. We'll grab all the lines in our sketch. Actually, we're going to turn all the other stuff off right now because it's in my way. Top of the planes, can't see that. And we're going to put some fins that are in our way. Let's hide those. Okay, we're going to offset that. We're going to go up. And then we're going to make sure we get the fillet, come on down to the bottom, fillet, and how big is that offset? 1/4 of an inch, way too big, or 1/10 of an inch, way too big, so we need to type in a value. We're going to go, it's about, I think we're going to go with 5/100 of an inch. You're going to want to measure yours to verify the sizes. We'll go with 5/100. And then we're going to connect the ends. So we need these to be enclosed for us to do our next operation. So we'll go ahead and close that off. Now you can see we have a gray section. That looks great. We're ready to extrude. So that's our We'll call it engine lock. I don't remember the proper name for that part yet, but we need that. Now we're going to extrude that, Shift E. Now we're going to extrude it about 1/4 inch symmetrically. Our engine lock, that creates a new part, which we're going to rename. And that part is going to need a new material that we haven't used yet. This is actually going to be steel. Because you sure as heck don't want something. You sure as heck don't want something at the nozzle of your rocket motor that is made out of paper. So here you have it. All of the bits and pieces of the rocket are ready to go. So hopefully this was useful, interesting, a little bit of fun. Hope you picked up some new tricks and tips. Have fun. Be creative. And as always, keep being awesome.